Hello, good evening. It's 18:30 GMT. Thanks for joining us here on Key Point. Tonight is live from our studios here at the News Hub at Desawe here in Accra. Government has been sued over inhuman and degrading conditions at the country's prisons across the country. Now, tonight, we'll be speaking with one of the three lawyers and the plaintiffs and the Ghana Prison Service about exactly what the situation is and the relief they are seeking in this particular suit. Also, the newly sworn-in Auditor General, Daniel Demelovo, also has denied reports that he's absconded the country upon hearing news about his new appointment as being claimed by Editor-in-Chief of the Ghanaian Observer newspaper, lawyer Gov't Faber. We'll be finding out from him. We had an exclusive interview with him after the president also sworn him into office. So these are the issues we're going to be looking at here on Key Point tonight. Stay with us here. The program is streaming live on 3news.com and also live on DSTV channel 279. My name is Alfredo Kanse. Stay with us. All right, so let's get into our first key focus on Key Point tonight, where it has to do with the prison service and the inhuman conditions there. The three lawyers have sued government over what they say are inhuman and degrading conditions at the country's centers, detention of centers. Martin Pebo, Francis Ontoyin, and Nana Akwesi Ewa. Now, the three lawyers want the Supreme Court to ask the government to explain why it had failed to separate toilet facilities at the prisons from the bedroom of the inmates, a situation which has resulted in the use of a toilet by an inmate in the presence of other inmates as well. In 2014, if you recall, the Human Rights Council of the United Nations released a report which indicated that the human rights conduct in Ghana's prisons does not meet international standards, and this is being of major concern, and this is one of the things that we all do know about this. So if you look at what we speak at the moment, the situation in Ghana's prisons, as has been reported so many times, we know about the Fiase project and also some works that have been done by some journalists in this country about the state of Ghana's prisons. This is the statistics as we speak at the moment, the breakdown of the current state of the prison's population. Total inmates population hovers around 13,309, and also authorized prison holding capacity is 9,875, an excess of about 4,000 there. Now, percentage of overcrowding is about 34.77%, and total number of prisons across the country is 43 as we speak. Also, you can get a lot more of this as well. Specifically, we have convicted prisoners across the country with the statistics that we have: 11,125 and 11,004 males and 121 females consist of the convicted prisoners. Unconvicted prisoners consist about 2,184, 2,135 males and 49 females. Male inmates total 13,139, and also the female inmates also number 170. So clearly that is a major concern as well. When you see also for the juveniles at the various senior correction centers across the country, 166, and then convicted foreigners 756. This is the statistics given to us by the Ghana Prison Service about the state of the prisons in this country. I've been joined in studio by ESP Vitalis Aye. He is the head of public affairs at the Ghana Prison Service. Good to have you. Good evening to you.
Good
now,
evening.
Clearly, this statistics gives a clear indication of overcrowding, which we know. These three lawyers have sued the Attorney General for this. Would you say that enough has been done to address this problem of overcrowding?
Good evening to your cherished viewers. Yes, it's true that the prison service in Ghana are highly overcrowded, as you showed in the statistics that we all saw. The prison service, as you know, it is to reform and rehabilitate people. So we take in people who have offended the laws. When it comes to the issue of overcrowding and whether we have done enough or the state has done enough, I will say no. Because the overcrowding rates, if you look at the international standards,
You say that the state has not done enough to address the issue of overcrowding.
Overcrowding, yes, because out of the capacity of the prisons we have in Ghana, it's 9,000 plus. And we have a total population of 13,000 plus, as you saw in the footage over here. So it's overcrowded. So if the state had built more prisons, then we would not be talking about the numbers we are talking about now. The colonial master gave us not properly built prisons. Most of the things we inherited were forts and castles that were used to house slaves, turned into prisons. The only purpose-built prisons we can talk about in Ghana are the Nsawam prisons and the Ankerful maximum prisons. The rest were not actually meant to be prisons.
Now, we heard of a sword-cutting ceremony for some 800 capacity prison at the Nsawam prisons. How far has that gone? And especially when we're talking about overcrowding, you say that that would not necessarily address the situation that much?
No. What is happening at Nsawam is meant for remand prisoners.
Okay, but I mean, the remand prisoners are all serving the same or serving their sentences in the same cells or prisons with the prisoners who have been remanded.
Yes, that is
or who have been sentenced, for that matter.
That's one positive aspect which the government has put in place to see to the decongestion of the prisons, to separate the remands from the convicted persons. So as a start, Nsawam having the largest number of prisoners, they have over close to 4,000 inmates. The government has started, they broke ground for the building, the construction of an 800 bed capacity for remand prisoners, which is supposed to be replicated across the country. So we're talking about every central prisons will have a home like that attached to them, so that we separate the remands from the convicted persons.
But what's the state of that construction after the sword cutting was done? Where have we gotten to with the construction of that 800 bed prison?
We've gotten far. I think we've gotten to up to the lintel level. You know, prisons are not like normal homes that we built, but at least there's progress in the constructions as we see it. It's not completed. It's nowhere near roofing levels and stuff like that, but the contractor is on the ground and work is ongoing.
Now, it has to take 3 lawyers to go to the court of law and literally drag the Attorney General and Minister of Justice to address fundamental issues as medical facilities, adequate food, and also decent sanitation, and also the potable water for prisoners. And we want to find out exactly what these 3 lawyers are seeking in the court of law. There's Francis Ontoyin, is one of the plaintiffs and a legal practitioner who has dragged the Attorney General to court on this matter. I thank you very much, Mr. Dowe, for your time. Good evening to you. Now, you are seeking, I see in your suit, about 11 reliefs from the court of law about this particular case. Now, exactly what prompted this particular decision to drag the Attorney General to court?
Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you, lawyer.
Should I say, I first made a visit to Sawam in 2013, you know, as a student of law. Then I, you know, first encountered this situation. I mean, apart from, you know, the media, you know, hearing about a lot of congestion and all that in, you know, Ghanaian prisons. The first time I came into contact with this is our first visit as criminal law students to the prisons. Now, what I saw wasn't good enough. You know, how inmates even, you know, feed and all that, where they have to ease themselves, and then, you know, the overcrowding. I mean, it's quite notorious. Now, another visit was in 2015. We made other observations, not different from what we made in 2013, you know. And we realized that, no, that there was a need for, you know, something to be done for these inmates, you know, who are, we feel that, okay, they do not, you know, lose their constitutional, you know, safeguards.
Right.
The fact that you are detained, it doesn't mean you should be subjected to like this. And, you know, we thought that, no, the right forum was to address it in court. that will have more force.
Now, you're seeking 11 reliefs, and what I see is, for example, to have the court compel the Attorney General to ensure that potable water, decent toilet facilities, adequate food is served these prisoners, which is their fundamental human rights. Now, the question is, this particular Attorney General, Maretta Buro-Piopon, has it's about 7 or so days to still stay or be in office. So what's the impact that this lawsuit would have?
Oh, it is an institution. The Attorney General, it's a creation of, the Constitution. So not really the person not too important, because the institution is enough. And you know what was going on now. We have handing over notes from all departments and all that. Now, once they receive this, obviously they'll hand it to the next Attorney General. So I really do not feel, this will have any impact.
Okay, so this case will transcend beyond the current Attorney General, in the sense that the Nanado-led government, whoever is appointed Attorney General, will still have to attend to the court of law on this particular case. Sure.
We started this brief even, I think, about 6 months ago, and the elections have gone. We know there's a change of government. It doesn't really affect us in any way.
Okay, well, I want to thank you very much. Lawyer Francis Ontoyin is one of 3 lawyers who has dragged the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, to court, seeking 11 reliefs concerning the state of Ghanaian prisons and the prisoners in there. Vitalis Aye is the head of public affairs at the Ghana Prison Service. He's with me in studio. Now, would you agree with this particular suit, that indeed it's that inhuman to the extent that there has to be a lawsuit to compel government to do something about this?
As an institution, that is true. We lack funding. Our budget is not strong enough for us to do the things we can do as an institution. So if civil society and other groups are seeing that the people in there are Ghanaians, and it could be anybody inside prisons, and they're taking the matter a notch higher, there's nothing wrong with that. As you can see, the same state was compelled by individual lawyer to permit prisoners to start voting. Absolutely. And we saw prisoners vote in 2012 and then 2016. People said prisoners had no right to vote until the Constitution, the law said no. So if these 3 lawyers have decided to go to court to compel the state to do what it is supposed to do, to ensure that our fortunate brothers and sisters in prison, their dignity is just not dragged on the ground. Fair enough, there's nothing.
No, so this is good news for you.
Why not?
I see. But then when you say this, the Prisons Council headed by Reverend Steve Wingam would refer you to the Fiasi project, which they say seems to have chalked some progress for the prison service. Would you say that would have been enough to send that signal that there was some commitment to improve on the situation? Very
much so. The Fiasi project is on the back of the 10-year strategic plan the prison service has put in place, which is already raising results. In fact, as a matter of fact, the 800-bed capacity prison, remand prison that is being built, is as a result of the president's visit to Nsawam last year, when he launched the Fiasi project. In fact, the first time ever a president visited prisons in Ghana. That resulted in what we are seeing today. And the fact that another prison is supposed to be built in Bolga, and again, that it will replicate it in all central regions, that we have remand prisons built outside of the main prisons. So yes, Fiasi and the 10-year strategic plan is good. It's already yielding results. But if there will be a law to force to fast-track things, I think that is fine. That is fair enough.
But finally, just confirm how the picture looks like in the prisons. They are talking about the toilet facilities being in the same room with the inmates there. There's no separation of the toilet facility from the room, and people would have to be there. And they're talking about lack of access to good sanitary conditions. They don't even have good food to eat. Paint that picture for me. Is that really the case in the prisons?
I think we've seen this picture already with a documentary done by Setpam Boateng of a sister station. We noticed the conditions in the prisons. And as I said earlier, these prisons were not purpose-built, and they're overcrowded. So the ablution facilities are overstretched. That is a fact. We are doing something, and that is where we have the strength. We are putting some WCs in some prisons, but not all.
What kind of food do you serve them?
Well, we serve the prisoner with 1 cedi 80 pesos food for 3 square meals a day.
1 cedi 80 pesos.
Yes, that
per
is
prisoner.
So that is,
and that serves 3 square meals.
If you break it down, that is 60 pesos
60
for morning,
pesos per meal.
60 afternoon, and 60 in the evening.
What kind of food can 60 pesos prepare?
So that, I mean, I've just painted the picture for you. You give your daughter.
But what kind of food do you prepare with 60
Basically,
pesos?
it's corn foods. It's just banku and gari that you give to them, because you can hardly buy rice and things for them to eat. So if they're coming in to push the states to do what they're supposed to do, so that our brothers and sisters don't starve to death in prisons.
But have you made this appeal to have government respond to this?
We have always made the appeal.
Anyway, DSP Vitalis Aye, he's a head of
Superintendent
Vitalis Aye. He's a head of public affairs at the Ghana Prison Service. We thank you for your time.